So I am here at the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library. It's in a pretty nice, quiet setting, and there's no one here because it's pretty early in the morning. I like presidential libraries. I usually try to visit them. If you're into like American history or anything like presidents, definitely recommend you visit them. They're usually pretty affordable and you can learn quite a bit about the presidents. So they usually have like interesting, things about the personal lives of the presidents, which is always a good kind of addition to, what you may have read in history class or what have you. And so anyway, I recommend it. So let's go inside and see what's there. So speaking of personal touches, here is his high chair from being a baby. And here are some old report cards. So it just goes to show you should get good grades if you plan on being president, and keep your report cards because they might be on display. And here's his Navy picture.
He was kind of my hero.
So this is interesting. It's the first time I've seen First Lady campaign buttons, but here it is for Rosalind Carter. I guess that was an important part of the election, was also choosing the First Lady. So this part's pretty cool. It's a recreation of the Oval Office
Some of them were absolutely unable to speak.
with President Carter talking about it.
Quite often they would forget what they came to see me about. They would have to call back on the telephone and tell one of my staff members, this is why
It's pretty cool. It feels like you're actually in the Oval Office. So.
I think my most memorable part of this was probably Deng Xiaoping.
And this is a recreation of from when he was in office. So it looks like his Oval Office. It's a pretty sparse desk, but a nice little setup. The couches back to back versus facing each other, which is what you see a lot in like movies and TV shows. So that's interesting. And there's the Bronco Buster statue, which I feel like is featured in a lot of presidential offices, and a "Buck Stops Here" sign on his desk.
And it was a very difficult thing for me to look at the Oval Office and feel that it was actually mine, that I could maybe change something that was there. Just the arrangement of the sofas and the chairs, and maybe even pull the window trees. A lot of my friends would come to the Oval Office, outspoken friends from Georgia and otherwise. They would come in here and try to talk to me, and some of them were absolutely unable to speak. They were mute. They couldn't even say a word. And quite often they would forget what they came to see me about. And later would have to call back on the telephone and tell one of my staff members, this is why I came to Washington. Please give this message to the president.
So they have quite a few things on display in a pretty interesting museum overall. So this is the reproduction of the crown of St. Stephen, which Jimmy Carter had returned to Hungary after the U.S. held on to it during the Cold War, and so they sent him back this reproduction. So that's pretty cool. I guess you could say it was his crowning achievement. Sorry, had to do it. So this is something you don't see every day, but it's a Persian rug of George Washington, given as a gift from Iran. And what makes me feel old is, while not using this exact computer, I definitely remember using floppy disks like this as a kid in the early 90s. Ooh, and the red telephone, it is a real thing, but it says here it was to communicate with U.S. military command centers and not the Soviet leaders, as is shown in movies often. Something about a red phone, though, it's still scary and intimidating and not something I want to pick up or have to use. Hopefully you didn't have to use it too often. So this is pretty cool. It's a signed picture by 5 presidents and a signed baseball. And then the President Obama inauguration invitation. It's pretty cool. Now it says here that Jimmy Carter has written more than 20 books since leaving the White House. That is impressive. That is a lot of things that he's doing after being president. I consider it an accomplishment finishing a book, let alone writing 20. That's impressive. So, good job. Okay, so I just got out of the museum. All in all, pretty good. Definitely love Oval Office recreation, so I spent the most time in there probably. It is an outdoor garden area that's behind the museum and pretty nice. And yeah, I would recommend, like, again, going to presidential libraries if you're into history or presidents or American history. And it's, I mean, it was only $8 too. They're usually decently cheap, and you're paying for a museum anyway, like supporting the museum, so always a good thing. So I recommend it. That is the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library, and here comes a duck to bid you adieu, to say goodbye, and to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you like it. More travel videos to come, more behind the scenes, social media link below, main comedy channel link below as well. And here comes the duck to say goodbye. Alright, goodbye, Mr. Duck. Please ask them to subscribe. Thanks. He asked you to subscribe, so please do. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.